What the hell did you do?" Sarah Miller's voice thundered across the sun-drenched pool deck of the luxurious Sapphire Shore Resort, her eyes blazing as she pulled her husband, Michael Hayes, from the shimmering water. A single shove had turned a tranquil afternoon into a raw confrontation, exposing layers of prejudice that would leave everyone speechless. Imagine a black man, dignified and brilliant, humiliated for no reason other than his appearance. What would you do? Where are you listening from? Drop your city in the comments and tell us what you think happened when Sarah faced the woman who dared to push Michael. Hit that subscribe button to catch our latest stories of resilience and justice, and stick with us to the end. You won't believe how this unfolds. Share your thoughts, smash that like button, and join our community for more powerful tales. The sun hung high over the vibrant coast of Barcelona, a molten orb casting golden shards across the Sapphire Shore Resort. Infinity pools gleamed like liquid sapphires against a cloudless sky. Palm trees swayed, whispering secrets of wealth and leisure. The air was thick with the scent of sea salt, expensive sunscreens, and the faint tang of sangria. The resort, a sprawling oasis of opulence, pulsed with life, children's laughter, the clink of ice in crystal glasses, and the soft hum of flamenco guitar. At the heart of this paradise stood Michael Hayes, a vision of quiet grace and immense intellect. He stepped onto the pool deck, his bare feet cool against the mosaic tiles. His close-cropped black hair caught the sunlight like polished obsidian. He wore simple black swim shorts, their understated elegance, a quiet rebellion against the glittering designer wear around him. His skin, a rich mahogany, glowed under the sun's caress, and his dark eyes, sharp yet warm, scanned the scene with the precision of a man who had built a biotech empire from nothing. Michael was no stranger to scrutiny, having faced it in labs, boardrooms, and charity galas. But today, he sought only peace. Months of grueling work debugging genetic code until dawn and navigating corporate politics had left him bone-tired. This was his sanctuary, a rare escape. Beside him walked Sarah Miller, his wife, a billionaire whose wealth was matched only by her fierce loyalty and vibrant spirit. Tall and slender, her flowing navy caftan clung loosely to her frame, hinting at the strength beneath. Her dark, expressive eyes, sharp as obsidian, softened as she glanced at their 7-year-old son, Leo, who skipped between them, his curly black hair bouncing with each step. Leo's bright green swim trunks glowed like an emerald, and his giggles filled the air as he clutched an inflatable shark floaty. Sarah's hand rested lightly on Michael's lower back, a gesture both protective and grounding, a silent promise that he was her anchor in any storm. They were a striking trio, their love a tapestry woven from shared dreams and hard-won triumphs. Yet, to the untrained eye, they were just another family, unremarkable in a sea of wealth. The pool deck buzzed with activity. Socialites lounged on cushioned chairs, their oversized sunglasses shielding eyes that flicked toward Michael with curiosity or disdain. A woman in a tailored bikini sipped a rosé, her gaze lingering on his simple swimwear before returning to her phone. A group of teenagers snapped selfies by the waterfall feature, their laughter sharp and carefree. Waiters glided like ghosts, balancing trays of sparkling water and tropical cocktails, their white uniforms crisp against the vibrant backdrop. Michael felt the weight of eyes on him, a familiar sensation from years of being the only black man in rooms where cutting-edge science was negotiated. He didn't flinch. His posture remained composed, his steps deliberate, as if each one declared his right to be here. He chose a lounge chair near the main pool, its cushioned surface inviting under the shade of a striped umbrella. Sarah knelt beside Leo, adjusting his floaty with a tenderness that made Michael's heart ache with love. "Ready to be a shark, kiddo?" she asked, her voice warm as the Barcelona sun. Leo nodded, his eyes wide with excitement, and Sarah scooped him up, heading toward the children's pool where a slide twisted like a serpent. Michael watched them go, a smile tugging at his lips. This was why he'd pushed through the exhaustion, moments like these, where his son's joy was the only metric of success that mattered. Settling onto the chair, Michael stretched out, his muscles protesting from weeks of tension. He dipped his toes into the pool, the water cool and silken against his skin, a balm for his weary body. His black hair spilled over the chair's edge, a dark contrast that drew glances from a nearby couple. Their whispers were barely audible over the water's gentle lap. "He's striking, but those shorts, really?" one murmured, their tone a mix of admiration and judgment. Michael heard it, as he always did, but let it slide off him like water. He'd developed the medical software that powered this very resort, patient check-in systems for the on-site clinic, allergy protocols, even the app that summoned those cocktails. He didn't need their approval to know his worth. The pool deck was a microcosm of Barcelona's elite, a stage where wealth performed its daily rituals. A man in a designer Speedo sauntered past, diamond studs catching the light like tiny beacons. A woman barked orders into a Bluetooth headset, her designer watch glinting as she gestured. Children splashed in the shallow end, their inflatable unicorns bobbing like pastel dreams. Michael closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sun warm his face, the flamenco notes weaving through his thoughts. He pictured his latest project, a genetic therapy platform set to launch next month, its code as elegant as the resort's architecture. Precision, impact, healing, this was his element. But today, he wanted only to be present, to savor the laughter of his son and the quiet strength of his wife. Leo's squeal pulled Michael's attention back across the deck. Sarah was guiding their son down the slide, her hands steady as he splashed into the shallow pool, his shark floaty bobbing wildly. Michael laughed softly, his heart swelling. He adjusted his position, stretching his legs to ease the tightness in his calves. The work had taken its toll, late nights hunched over laptops, stress knotting his muscles. He massaged his leg absent-mindedly, his fingers working the tension free, unaware that the simple act would soon draw unwanted attention. The crowd shifted subtly. A woman in a sequined crimson bikini, Eleanor Vance, though Michael didn't yet know her name, stood near the bar, her posture commanding as she sipped a mimosa. Her dark bob swung, her designer sunglasses perched atop her head like a crown. She glanced at Michael, her lips curling into a faint, calculating smile. The air around her seemed to sharpen. But the stage was set. The resort, with its polished surfaces and curated elegance, was about to become a battlefield where assumptions would clash with truth, and Michael's quiet strength would face its first test. As the flamenco swelled, a waiter approached, offering Michael a glass of sparkling water. He thanked him. The moment felt perfect. Sarah's laughter carried across the deck, Leo's voice chanting, "Again, Mommy, again." Michael's smile deepened. But beneath the surface, the undercurrents of judgment and prejudice were already stirring, ready to break the calm. The Sapphire Shore Resort pool deck shimmered under the Barcelona sun, but a storm was brewing. Michael sat on his lounge chair, his black swim shorts hugging his frame, his black hair catching the light. His toes grazed the pool's edge, the water's cool touch, a fleeting relief against a sudden cramp seizing his calf. He winced, his fingers kneading the muscle. But Michael's composure held firm, his grace unshaken. Across the deck, Eleanor Vance stood like a queen surveying her court, her crimson bikini glinting. Her dark bob swung, her designer sunglasses perched atop her head. She sipped a mimosa, her lips curled in a smirk that carried the weight of entitlement. Her gaze locked onto Michael with cold calculation. The air thickened with an unspoken challenge. "Having a rough day, huh?" Eleanor's voice sliced through the hum, sharp and mocking, dripping with condescension. She sauntered closer. Michael looked up, his expression calm but guarded. "I'm fine, thank you," he said, his voice smooth. "Just a cramp." Eleanor's smirk widened, her eyes raking over Michael's simple shorts, lingering on their plainness with a flicker of disdain. "Oh, honey," she drawled, her shadow falling over Michael's chair. "You look like you're struggling. Maybe this pool's a bit too rustic for you." The words landed like a slap, their racial undertones unmistakable. Michael's jaw tightened. "I belong here as much as anyone," he said, his tone firm yet measured. "Oh, please," she said, leaning in, her voice loud. "This place is for people who can afford to relax, not, well, you know." The implication hung heavy. A teenager's phone tilted subtly, its camera catching the exchange. Before Michael could respond, the cramp in his calf flared, stealing his breath. He gripped the chair's armrest. Eleanor seized the moment, her smile turning predatory. "Let me help you cool off," she said. In a swift, deliberate motion, she shoved Michael's shoulder, striking with just enough force to unbalance him. Michael's cramp-weakened leg buckled, and he tumbled backward into the pool, the cold water swallowing him with a shock. His arms flailed, the cramp tightening its grip. He broke the surface, gasping, heart pounding. Eleanor stood at the pool's edge, her laugh soft but piercing. "Oops," she said loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Guess you slipped." The couple by the bar chuckled. The teenager's camera stayed trained, sensing a viral moment. Other guests watched, some with discomfort, others with indifference. From the children's pool, Sarah Miller's head snapped up, her face darkened. "Stay here, sweetheart," she told Leo, handing him to a lifeguard. She sprinted across the deck, bare feet slapping the tiles, her caftan billowing. Without hesitation, she dove into the pool, reaching Michael in seconds. "I've got you," she murmured, pulling him toward the shallow end. Michael clung to the ladder, his breath ragged. Sarah climbed out, grabbed a plush white towel, and draped it over his shoulders like a shield. The crowd watched, whispers growing louder. Michael stood, water streaming, his eyes burning with a fire that matched Sarah's. She turned to Eleanor, her 5'10" frame towering, tensed with fury. "What the hell did you do?" she demanded, her voice low but sharp enough to cut through the chatter. Eleanor tossed her bob unfazed. "Oh, relax, big girl," she said mockingly. "He was just in the way. Maybe he should stick to public beaches." The crowd's murmurs grew. Eleanor called out, "Mr. Wallace, can you come deal with this?" Her husband, Robert Wallace, the resort's head of operations, emerged from the staff office, his headset clutched like a shield. "What's the problem?" he barked, eyeing Michael and Sarah dismissively. Sarah's posture remained unyielding. "You don't get to decide who belongs here," she said. Eleanor pointed at Michael. This man was causing a scene. "I was just helping him cool off." Robert nodded, his expression hardening. "Ma'am, if there's an issue, I'll handle it. This is a private resort, and we don't tolerate disruptions." Sarah's jaw tightened. "You must be Robert," she said, her tone deceptively calm. "The head of operations who lets his wife push guests into pools because of how they look." Robert's scowl deepened, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. "Excuse me," he said. "You don't know what you're talking about." "He was," Sarah cut him off, her voice sharpening. "He's my husband, Michael Hayes, the man whose company designed the medical software that runs every clinic, every patient protocol, every emergency system in this resort." She gestured to Michael, whose presence seemed to grow. "You pushed him because you assumed he didn't belong, and you've let this place become a playground for racism and prejudice." The deck fell silent. Eleanor's mimosa glass trembled. Robert's mouth opened, then closed, his headset slipping. "Ms. Miller," he stammered, recognition dawning. "You're Sarah Miller, the CEO of Aurora Innovations?" too, didn't know he was your husband." Sarah's gaze didn't waver. "I'm not just his wife," she said, her voice cutting through the humid air. "I'm the primary investor in Sapphire Shore Resorts. Every pool, every room, every blade of grass you're standing on is mine." The words landed like a gavel. Eleanor's face paled. Robert's headset became a useless prop. "You're done," Sarah said, her words final. "You're fired, Robert, effective immediately." The crowd gasped. Eleanor's face crumpled, her mimosa glass hitting the deck with a sharp crack. "You can't do that," she snapped. "He's the head of operations." Sarah's gaze didn't waver. "I own this resort. I decide who stays." Michael stepped forward, his towel slipping slightly. "You thought I was invisible," he said to Eleanor, his voice steady. "You thought no one would care if you pushed me, mocked me, erased me. But I'm not invisible. I built the systems that run this place. Every medical scan, every patient record, every emergency protocol. And I'm here standing despite you." His eyes locked onto Eleanor's, unflinching as the crowd's murmurs grew. The teenager's video was already streaming to TikTok, her caption reading, "Man pushed into pool for being black. Wife owns the resort." Hashtags like hashtag Justice for Michael and hashtag Sapphire Shore Scandal began to spark, the internet igniting with outrage. Sarah's hand rested gently on Michael's shoulder. "This resort is for everyone," she said, addressing the crowd. "Not just those you deem worthy. I'm launching an investigation into every employee here. Anyone who shares your mindset, Robert is gone." The crowd's phones were a forest of lenses, capturing the promise of change. The air carried a new energy, a ripple of change sparked by her unwavering stand. Inside the suite, Sarah sat cross-legged on the floor with her 7-year-old son, Leo. He clutched a stuffed shark. Sarah's dark eyes met Leo's with a tenderness that made Michael's heart ache. She was his rock, her tailored strength now folded into a playful game of building a Lego castle. Michael knelt beside Leo. "Daddy, why was that lady so mean?" Leo asked. "Some people judge what they don't understand, baby." Michael said gently, "They see my skin, my simple shorts, and think it tells my story, but we don't let them dim our light." Leo nodded. Sarah reached over, her hand brushing Michael's, a silent vow woven into the touch. "You're a king, Leo," she said, "just like your dad." She stood and pulled Michael to his feet. They stepped back onto the balcony, leaving Leo to his Lego, the city's lights a canvas for their shared silence. "You were incredible today," Michael murmured, his arm wrapping around her waist. Sarah leaned into him. "I didn't do it for them," she said. "I did it for him, for Leo, for every kid who needs to know they belong." The world beyond the balcony was ablaze with the fallout. The teenager's video had exploded on TikTok, amassing millions of views. Its raw footage of Eleanor's arrogance and Michael's poised strength became a lightning rod for outrage. Hashtags like hashtag Justice for Michael and hashtag Sapphire Shore Scandal trended. Comment sections burned with fury. A gossip account with millions of followers reposted the clip, its headline screaming, "Resort head of operations fired after wife pushes black biotech genius into pool." The internet became a courtroom, and Michael's dignity was the verdict. Downstairs, the resort buzzed with damage control. Yelp reviews plummeted, influencers called for boycotts. Sarah, true to her word, had launched an investigation. A press release from Sapphire Shore promised sweeping changes, but the public scorn was unrelenting. Michael, however, remained silent online. He didn't tweet, didn't post, didn't chase the validation of a world quick to judge. His power was in his restraint. Instead, he poured his energy into what mattered. Weeks later, he stood at a podium in Barcelona, launching the Hayes STEM Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to mentoring young men of color in STEM. He wore his simple black swim shorts beneath a tailored blazer, a deliberate choice that drew gasps from the crowd. When a reporter asked about it, he smiled. "Some things don't need to change to be enough," he said, his words a quiet rebellion against the world's expectations. Back on the balcony, Leo ran out. "Can we go swimming tomorrow, Daddy?" he asked. Michael laughed. "Only if you promise to be the fastest shark," he teased, lifting Leo into his arms. Sarah joined them. "To Michael," she said, raising an imaginary glass. "The man who codes, cures, and breaks barriers without breaking a sweat." The city sparkled below. The towel on the chair, caught in the moonlight, was a symbol of triumph. Michael held close his son's warmth and leaned into Sarah, their love a fortress against the world's noise. Eleanor's name became a cautionary tale, Robert's career in ruins. But here, Michael's victory was complete. He hadn't just reclaimed his place, he had redefined it for himself, for Leo, for every man who dared to shine in a world that tried to dim their light. The breeze carried the faint scent of orange blossom. As Leo's giggles filled the air, Michael knew this was his true triumph, not the viral video, not the firings, but the love that held his family together, unbreakable, radiant, and eternal. What did you think of Michael's story? Have you ever faced judgment that made you feel unseen or unworthy? Witnessed someone rise above it with grace? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your experiences and what this tale meant to you. If Michael and Sarah's triumph moved you, hit that subscribe button to join our community and catch more stories of resilience and justice. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for spending your time with us. It means the world. Stay strong, stay kind, and we'll see you in the next.